Okay, cool. So before you get into your presentation, maybe if you just want to share, well, I know first of all, you're the person who taught me that Mayan people introduce themselves by their Nawal. So if you want to introduce yourself, I'm sure we would love to know your Nawal and how you resonate with it, and a little bit about how you found the calendar. And I was mentioning before, like it really blows me away that like you were an artist already, you were a mathematician, and so you just kind of got enchanted by the mathematics of it, which I find so um really like profoundly beautiful as well. But yeah, just anything that you want to share about yourself outside of your more formal presentation. We'd love to get to know you a little bit better too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hello everyone. I am Diana Baez and I am Kahib Noh, which means for Noh. And I am an artist. I'm a student and author of Walking the White Road. And the White Road is the English translation for Sakbe, which means a Mayan spiritual path and multidisciplinary tradition based on their cosmology and ancestral lineage or ancestral heritage. And yeah, aside from that, I was born in Ecuador. I'm Hispanic. I speak Spanish too. I've lived in the US for most of my life, and I'm currently living in Mexico. Current mountain time, not, not central time. And yeah, I started my path by studying the Mayan calendar with Mark Elmy back in 2020, and he's an Aki or a Mayan wisdom guide who's been practicing in Guatemala since I believe he said the end of the 90s, right? And he's English and he's got a whole interesting story. But
Mhm.
yeah, so he's actually one of the few people that's doing workshops on the calendar in English and very comprehensive. So from him, I learned both the mathematical and kind of like the philosophical mechanics of this calendar and the science, right? And so I kept studying it academically and artistically for years after that. You know, I was instantly hooked. And back in 2023, I started my Substack newsletter to kind of like for myself because I wanted to turn my notes into a living database for my own studies. I wanted to be able to just search whatever date and just kind of go back and then put everything together, you know, in one place. And to this day, I'm still kind of in awe that it's grown into a community of hundreds of readers. I'm just like, whoa, you know, and that's incredible. So, you know, with all of this interest in this tradition, this work has now evolved into a platform where people could connect. I've also started a podcast where I interview Mayan priests and practitioners, and I recently started a virtual study group, which some of you are a part of, and we're about to start that in about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, so excited for
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah. And you know, as an artist, you know, I always begin by saying I'm an artist and a student of life. And so I love exploring life through art and through systems, kind of like a
Hmm.
combination of both. And that's actually a characteristic of my Nawal. No.
Hmm.
And so, like you said, before I started Mark's workshop, I had decades of study in astrology, in the tarot, and in numerology. And as a professional graphic designer, I developed visual identities around my clients' vibrational signatures.
Hmm.
So the Mayan calendar, when I discovered it, it felt like this like unification of everything, of numbers, of nature, of spirituality, of energy, of the human psyche and ritual, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, I first fell in love with its mathematics, but then later through another Mayan wisdom guide, I encountered its ritual and ceremonial expressions. And
Hmm.
so, you know, I had a brief training with this. And so once I began practicing these rituals, the calendar then felt like it kind of became a part of me. And um, most of you probably understand, like it almost felt like something being remembered or recovered. Like
Hmm.
it feels connected to me on a very deep soul level. And I really do think that the people that are attracted to this tradition might have some kind of like deeper soul connection with it. I think it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Like I sense that in others. And so, yeah, I mean, as an artist, I'm just an artist, and I love
Mhm.
having all my creative tools kind of merged through the sacred calendar. And so, um, my own style is artistic and kind of performative, almost like the way that I'm kind of feeling it these days is almost like if I'm playing an instrument to be able to express like a cosmic song. So it's like I have my own gifts and abilities, and I've created my own instrument in expressing its wisdom, right? And so it's
Mm.
interesting because in with branding, I would do the same. I'd pull out someone's energetic personality and then turn it into visuals and messaging
Mhm.
with yeah, something like that. And then with the calendar, I'm also doing it through art, through music, writing, and sharing my personal stories with it, and community. So I feel like part of my mission and aim is to make its wisdom and its rhythms tangible and felt viscerally, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and another thing I wanted to share is that, for many, for most of my life, I've struggled around expressing my own voice,
Mm.
especially with personal and vulnerable stuff. I get really nervous around speaking publicly. But this practice has kind of helped me reclaim my voice,
Mm.
especially through writing and putting myself out there in interviews and videos. And so, yeah, it's funny because not too long ago, I told my husband that I don't know if I could ever feel comfortable on camera like he does, and now here I am, sharing
Yeah.
all of me with you guys. So I would say that's one of the most profound ways this path has transformed me.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for taking the time to share that and to make it personal and to share vulnerably, even about like
Yeah.
public speaking or being on camera and everything. And you're doing such a great job despite the hiccups. Like, I know how detail oriented you are. And so we're all just cheering you on, Diana. Like,
Oh,
we all
thanks.
love you so much. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So I opened it up for sharing your screen if you'd like to. And I know that you have an
okay.
amazing presentation prepared for us, and we are
Awesome.
just all ears. So excited to learn from you today.
Okay, great. Okay, let me just give me 1 second. All right. We good?
Perfect. We're
Okay.
perfect. Yeah.
So let's get started. These are the topics we will cover today, in essence. So, yeah, I was gonna say, please, if you have any questions, because we're gonna go through a lot. So if you have any questions just type them in the chat as they come up, or just kind of like write a reference to the title of the slide to remind you of your question. Okay. So yeah, this is what we'll cover: Indigenous cosmology, the K'iche Mayan heritage and traditions, the Mayan sacred calendar, our birth essence and natural codes, and what it means to live in ritual time. Like I said, I'm a student of the Sakbe, meaning white road or sacred road. It also means the Milky Way, the sacred road, spiritual path. And this is why I've called my work Walking the White Road. So I'm on this path to learn and become initiated as an Ahki, or a wisdom guide, under the K'iche Mayan lineage. And I observe and share the ritual count of their sacred calendar. So, most of you have seen this already, but my study in progress as a student on this path is generously shared online as an interactive, written, and artistic observation of the Mayan sacred calendar. So, on the left, you see my Trecena art, Nawal collage. I made this for the day sign Bats. And this is
Mm.
one of 60 collages I've created for all 20 Nawales or signs. And then in the center, you see my Substack. It's the count of the sacred calendar. And these are headlines of the daily articles. And then these are my fun Instagram stories where I share the day's keywords and a fun kind of like animated cover and music for each of the solar charges. And so, yeah, this is one of my most, yeah, it's like, it's kind of like it's part of my path, but it's also like this really fun thing that I get to do each morning. So yeah, this is kind of like how I've been expressing it.
And it's so gorgeous, Diana. It really shines through how
Oh,
much you love what you do.
thank you so much. So who are the Maya? The Maya are a lineage of people that form part of a greater Mesoamerican heritage and worldview. And cosmovision refers to how the Maya see and understand the origins and workings of the universe. It's their scientific and spiritual perspective on reality. And today, Maya communities live in Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras. You guys see my pointer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Belize, and their culture stretches back over 5,000 years or more. And it's important to know that the Mayan sages and elders and people that developed these systems, they weren't just spiritual guides, they were astronomers, mathematicians, and they were keen observers of the natural world. And
Mm-hmm.
so their spirituality is grounded and it's pragmatic. It's deeply connected to science, to physics, nature, and la vida cotidiana, which means daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And so they developed complex calendar systems through advanced astronomy and mathematics, including the concept of zero. These are zeros in the codices. And so their early algorithmic thinking using 0 and 1 shaped ideas that later influenced computer programming. So,
Wow.
in many ways, our digital world builds on their mathematical insights. And yeah, I feel like we actually owe them gratitude for being connected virtually right now.
Yeah. Wow.
So the Maya are renowned for their detailed knowledge of the sky and counting time, and they're deeply fascinated by natural cycles, mathematics, the mathematics of human development. And yeah, all of this is their highest form of this conveys that their highest form of wisdom is like a profound understanding of nature itself.
Mm.
So the Maya cosmovision has endured for thousands of years, and despite the Spanish burning nearly all of their books on science, on history, and spirituality, only
Mhm.
4 codices survived this tragedy. So for centuries, Maya families kept much of their wisdom hidden and passed it down through stories and oral
Mm. Mhm.
traditions, including the Popol Vuh or Popol Vuh, which
Mhm.
is their sacred book, the sacred book of the K'iche Maya, that shares the human creation story. And since the Spanish conquest, Maya families have worked really hard for centuries to preserve and protect their traditions, ensuring that their knowledge survives through generations. I think this is one of the most remarkable things about their culture is that, they've kept this as intact as possible for a long, long time. And so they say now that these practices are being revived and then there's like an ongoing progress in securing their cultural rights.
Mm.
So most people probably remember the famous or infamous 2012 Mayan prophecies.
Mhm.
And so in honor of this profound ancestral tradition, which has contributed so much to humanity, I just want to clarify why that mainstream so-called Mayan prophecy was not only incorrect, but a significant and painful blow to the Maya and their heritage.
Mm.
Jose Argüelles was responsible for the end of the world fears in 2012, who was neither Mayan nor connected to authentic ancestral traditions. He also invented the dream spell calendar, which you might still see in modern apps. And within it, the day out of time, this is recent too, none of which reflect true ancestral Mayan cosmology and wisdom. And so at the time, he, along with others from various fields, promoted and amplified these end times predictions, creating this huge wave of misinformation that reached almost every corner of the globe. And unfortunately, to this day, that misleading information still dominates search engine results.
Mm.
But in truth, the Mayan elders never spoke about the end of the world. They spoke about a new beginning, marking the start of a new Bakdun cycle of 468 years, right? This is
Mm.
1,444,000 days.
Hmm.
And the elders were upset about this because they knew the world would not end, it would be transformed. And the first truly accurate public information about these calendar systems and expanded knowledge about them, including the significance of the cross, came from the Barrios family, from Gerardo Canek Barrios and Carlos Barrios, who around that time were authorized by the Mayan abuelos, by the elders, to help correct misunderstandings about the 2012 Bactun transition.
Hmm.
So simply put, the longer count system, in the longer count system, humanity shifted from 12 to 13, from Kablahu to Oshlahu, which represents a new guiding, energetic, numerical charge that will accompany us until the 2400s.
Hmm.
So this is Tad Carlos Barrios, who contributed largely to Mayan ancestral traditions in modern times and was given permission to divulge and unveil more information about their true traditions and calendrical systems internationally, and to clarify the misconceptions of 2012. So who's this knowledge for? He says, our first grandfathers acquired this knowledge in the mythical Tulan, the Mayans' mother civilization, and spoke of reality as a manifestation on three levels: the underworld, the world, and the overworld. All of these in turn are manifest in Nacht, or space-time. The ancient Maya sent emissaries into the world to share this knowledge, the key to development as both individuals and a community, in order to shape the new being. Jess, do you want to read this part?
Sure. It says, all Maya, as well as those with a true desire to grow and evolve in harmony, are the rightful heirs to such knowledge.
Thanks. And so I share this because I think many people, especially us Westerners, we often feel, nervous about practicing Indigenous traditions, thinking that
Hmm.
we're somehow appropriating them, or believe it's not correct, or it
Mm.
doesn't belong to their culture. But if we meet these traditions with humility and an openness to learn how to evolve and rebalance ourselves with nature, and most important, to discover why we're here, these cultures welcome us with open arms, no
Mm.
matter who we are, where we were born, and where we come from. So this is part of a broader multicultural indigenous prophecy being fulfilled at this time. The prophecy states that this new beginning and global transformation, called the Pachacuti by Andean traditions, is the time to unite people from all four cardinal points of the earth in this knowledge, and to reconnect with the spirituality of the earth.
Mm.
So the Maya cosmovision is rooted in a core ancestral science that connects traditional cultures of the Americas. So many here, I didn't quite get where everybody's from, but I think we're mostly from the US, correct?
Yep, and a lot of people in New England too,
Oh,
I
in New
noticed.
England. Okay. But yeah, I mean, many of us feel drawn to practices like yoga or
Hmm.
Buddhism. These are all beautiful and insightful, but here in the Americas, the land itself holds unique ancestral wisdom that speaks to those living on it. So, and this is my personal thought on it, but just as our bodies are nourished best with local foods,
Mm.
spiritual connection grows stronger through local traditions and the nature of this continent, right?
Yeah.
And so the energy of the land and cosmos here are closely tied to the cycles observed by Maya and other indigenous traditions, creating harmony between our bodies and the land. So, a common thread between, all of these different cosmovisions is the importance of the four directions, plus sky above and sky spirit above and earth mother below. And so in the Mayan traditions, these directions are guarded by the four balamem, which mean jaguar men, and each direction honors one of the four original races of humanity: red, indigenous; Black, African; white, European; and yellow, Asian. Maya spirituality embraces all, grounded in our shared humanity and connection to Earth and cosmos. So it's a natural science and spiritual legacy that doesn't conflict with other religions or
Mm-hmm.
faiths.
Mm-hmm.
Nature teaches us that we exist between the celestial, the divine, and the earth, the material. And true wisdom and evolution comes from understanding our place between them and balancing both. And so, according to Maya traditions, their knowledge that survived great floods and lost civilizations was passed to this civilization from Tulan, also known as Atlantis. And, it's interesting and also discussed that the Mayan word Atl, ATL, is in Atlantis. And so this story lives on in sacred texts such as the Popol Vuh and similar origin stories among other indigenous cultures. One of them, which is the Hopi origin stories, which I find fascinating. There's some really interesting links between both the Maya and the Hopi. But yeah, if you've watched Graham Hancock's Ancient Apocalypse series, you'll notice many cultures safeguard similar ancient origin stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so time is heavily observed by the Mesoamerican culture, and their obsessive focus on time and cycles is not only infused into their spiritual practices, but their temples, their arts, their mathematics, sciences, politics, and agriculture, day-to-day living, etc. Part of the Maya cosmovision and more available to all people is their calendar system, which is just one part and aspect of their ancestral traditions. So from these calendars, the most known and accessible to the people is the Choki. And these two images contain the glyphs of the 20 Nawales that in part form the Choki. So the Choki means count of days or count of suns. And it's the Mayan sacred calendar of the K'iche lineage. It guides an inner journey, helping people reconnect with their own essence and the essence of all things, not just through logic, but physically, emotionally, and spiritually as time unfolds. And most people know this system as the Solkin, which is the Yucatec Peninsula version. And the Mexica or the Aztecs, they use a similar calendar called the Tonalpowali, each with different names and languages for its energies and numbers, but sharing the same 260-day 1320 pattern and structure. So again, I share and practice the Choki, which is specific to the Guatemalan Quiche and other lineages in the Guatemalan region. And so the mathematically precise science of the Choki helps us understand the relationship between the human and the entire cosmos, and the energies that build the reality we experience, as well as the arc of human development and evolution. Joseph Campbell tapped into this inherent human evolutionary arc, calling it the hero's journey, which is the formulaic code of a story or journey we experience in most archetypal stories and movies. But beyond this arc, Mayan traditions affirm that when we connect with the Cholki, it helps us synchronize with the natural cycles of life and acknowledge the essence of everything. So I created this video to show you some of the mechanics of the Cholki. The Choki is based on nature and the movements of the sun, moon, Venus, as well as the human being. It's sacred mathematics, and numbers within the calendar can also indirectly calculate other cycles, such as that of Mars. But unlike astrology, no other planets are part of its cosmology. So while this calendar has components of astronomy, it's not astrology. It's a dimensional energy calendar that governs the development of human life. So how does it work? The projection of the cosmos is interpreted from the center to the four directions. The calendar's turns are abrupt from east to north, north to west, west to south, south to east, regardless of the location of any star beyond the sun, moon, and Venus in relationship to the human being. The ritual count of the sacred calendar is composed of 20 Nawales or day signs, and it's counted in 13 levels, creating 260 unique combinations. 13 times 20 equals 260, which is one Choki year. The number of 260 is related to the human body, the human gestation cycle, and it is theorized to also be the time measurement of the passage of the solar zenith that occurs twice per year in Central America. Every 20 days is one Mayan month called a winal. There are 20 Nawales or day signs, and they're always counted in the same order. Okay, so that just gives you a visual animated reference of how it works. So here's how the 1320 pattern of the Choki shows a direct correlation to our body. So 13 connects to the 13 main joints of the body. We have 2 at the ankles, 2 at the knees, 2 at the hips, 2 at the wrists, 2 at the elbows, 2 at the shoulders, and then 1 at the neck. And that's a total of 13 joints. But what are our main joints? It's what gives our body movement. Joints allow us to move. And 13 represents our neck and head, as well as the movement of all the joints, right? Then we have the 20 nawales linked to the fingers and toes of the human body, right? 10 fingers and 10 toes. And what do our fingers do? Well, the toe fingers, or the feet, toes, balance, and our fingers allow us to make, to craft, to manifest, to change. So these are the fundamental basics of its connection with the body. But beyond these, the calendar's numbers also connect to other aspects of the human body, such as the brain, 2 hemispheres, the geometry of the human face. We have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 pairs of lips, top and bottom, the vertebrae of our spine, our organs, strands of the umbilical cord, our circadian rhythms, as well as the stages of human life. So this further integrates its system with the human body and with human life. In the Choki calendar, we acknowledge that every single day within its 260-day cycle has a specific, unique energy. And so, like I mentioned in the video, the Choki is composed of 20 nawales counted in 13 steps. So every 13-day cycle is important, and it's called a trecena. Trecena is a Spanish term for the cycle of 13 days. But what I wanted to mention is that it's interesting how Western modern mindset has us believing that 13 is an unlucky number.
Right. Yeah.
Right? There's no 13th floor on buildings. Why is that? Right? But to the Maya and other ancestral traditions, they frame 13 as a number that connects us to the cosmic mind, to spirit, to the ancestral realms, and to source intelligence, to sky, the overworld. So 13 as the last main joint associated with the skull, neck, communication, brain, and cosmic receiver represents the highest faculties of the human body. So that's interesting, right? If 13 is our divinity, why then would 13 be depicted as a bad luck number? So again, Trecena is a 13-day cycle. And here's a visual study of the sacred geometries of the Trecena. So the graphic on the right, this one, shows us all of the 20 nawales in their correct order, and their natural order moves counterclockwise. So in this order, if we begin to linearly unite the nawales in the order of the trecenas, we start to see a perfect geometric form. And this geometric form turns into a circle in the center. And that's its first shape, following the order of the trecenas. If we continue this movement further through time, we start to see spirals forming. Here they come. And in the study of the graphics, 3 concentric spirals emerge. So there you see the cosmic spirals generating into a vector or a fractal hidden in the geometry of the calendar. But when we zoom out even further through time, to the larger cycles of time, hold on a second, and represent the calendar graphically in this way. So this is like a different perspective of the previous graphics. These tails signifying the shorter cycles, then that movement continues into a grand fractal. So that's
Wow.
kind of like this is like the dance or the movement of the trecenas through time. So this visual geometric panel of the calendar's movements are tracked through, oh my goodness, hold on a second, 5 Choki cycles. Hold on a second, pause this. So this is 5 cycles of the Choki. And this graphic study of the spirals was discovered and developed by my friend Alonso Lopez, Ocho Viento, 8 Wind, and he's an Ahmen, a Yucatec Mayan priest. This already existed. Hold on a second. This was known already. He took it further and discovered this spiraling
Wow.
between multiple trecenas and Choki cycles. So on the
Wow.
left side, going back to the energetic components, every trecena in the Choki has a specific energy, which is marked by the energy of the first day of the cycle. And this is in the version that I'm sharing. So then the second day is attached to another, and like gears, they move together. One is the seed, energetically encapsulating all 13 numbers of its cycle. So Hun 1 is the full potency or intention of that trecena. These are the 20 Nawales, and this beautiful glyph artwork was created by my friend and collaborator, Teal McFarland. And just a quick shout out to her for her beautiful handcrafted art.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
So these are the cosmic players of the game of life, or the cosmic ball game, as the Aztecs call it. And so there are 13 versions of each Nawal. There's 1 bat, 2 bats, 3 bats, all the way to 13th, then 1 2 right? And then that forms all together, they form the 260-day cycle. So each Nawal has a specific quality, and it is an energy, and it also informs its neighboring Nawal, again, kind of like the arc of the hero's journey. They're connected with each other. And so in this correct order, I'll read and pronounce each one so you can hear the phonetics of the K'iche Mayan language. So this is Bats, E, Ah, Ish, Sikin, Ahmak, Noh, Tihash, Kawok, Ahpu, Imosh, Ich, Akbal, Kat, Kan, Kame, Kech, Kanil, Toch, and Tzi. And each Nawal is associated with an animal guardian. So each Nawal is seen as both a spiritual force and a living companion. Each person's Nawal or day's Nawal is said to represent their protector spirit, often an animal or more than one animal that reflects their character and their fate. So this knowledge forms a central part of Mayan timekeeping and spiritual guidance, with each of the 20 Nawales associated to a specific animal. And you can learn more about each day's energy and animal guardians on my website and by following the ritual count of the sacred calendar on my Substack. So the Choki is used in many ways and for many purposes. Jess, please do us the honors.
Yes, absolutely. So, traditional uses include Mayan birth readings to establish our name and purpose, planning and programming days, ritual, ceremony, initiations, and celebrations, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing, midwifery and pregnancy protocols, women's menstrual cycles and their connection to the Mayan cross. Okay, that piques that piques my interest. Divination, predictions, and prophecy, relationship readings and healing, and more.
Great, thank you. So one of the most beautiful and insightful gifts of the Choki is the Cruz Maya, the Mayan natal cross, somewhat like an astrology chart, but functioning dimensionally, not astrologically. So this is calculated simply with our birth date, our day, month, and year. On the right is my 9-point full Mayan cross. And there's also our 5-point cross, which removes the the corner Nawal is to give us a simpler look. And the Choki reveals energetic traits and destiny based on your day of birth, highlighting strengths, challenges,
Mm-hmm.
vocational path, our ancestry, and spiritual growth. So on the nine the 9 point cross, we see on row one, this is our origin and youth. So this could
Mm-hmm.
be infancy to around 14. The second row represents our adulthood, or could be around ages from 14 to around our 40s. And then row three is our elder years. I think it varies slightly for each person, depending on their chart and their time of birth.
Mm-hmm.
And so to orient us on what each section represents, we could imagine our body at the center of our cross like this. Our ancestry, youth, and origin is behind us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're facing our future with our arms stretched to the sides. So this is why on these crosses, this side is the feminine, the right, if
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at it, but if we're positioned like this is our left side, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, 12 Kan guides my elder years, 11 Bats is my masculine guide, my right side, and 10 Akaba is my feminine guide, my left side.
Mm.
So the feminine side expresses spirituality, intuition, our nurturing roles, our relationships with women in our lives. And
Mm-hmm.
the masculine side involves will, vocation, taking action, and connections with men and authority. So for instance, 11 bats guides me as I teach and create, right? Expressing artistic energy with bats combined with the orderly or eccentric or sharing energy of the 11. And ultimately, the Mayan cross teaches that reaching our highest potential means that we're balancing both masculine and feminine qualities. To be whole, we must embrace and harmonize both sides, just as men and women should complement each other in harmony. So my future path is guided by 12 gun and with 6 co-walk on my masculine side and 5 bats on my feminine side. This is shown in my 9 point chart. So in ancient times, an aki, a priest or a guide, would find a baby's nawal, so the parents would have an idea of the energy the baby carries. They
Mm.
would then support the baby with everything they needed to empower their natural expression with knowledge of their nawal and Mayan natal cross. And like you said, Jess, they would also name a person by their number and their nawal.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said earlier, my Mayan name would be Kahibno in the K'iche Mayan lineage, or Forno. This means my purpose is not linked to my family surname, as it is in
Mm.
our modern world. Rather, my name is established in accordance to my chumil, or my guiding star, which is Forno. So in modern day,
Mm-hmm.
we're not gifted with this awareness, and we come into the world not being guided to connect with our natural expression. We just kind of adopt ourselves
Mm.
to expectations of our parents, our society, but not our inherent energy and essence.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never too late to reconnect with our essence. So our birth nawal and our is our natural code, and that's what influences our lives. So we can see the Mayan cross as an analogy of a house's blueprint. It gives us the foundation of a home. And then it's up to us to make the choices of what we add on to it, right? By our free
Mm.
will, the materials, the tiles, the decorations, the furnishings. So our cross is basically just like a base foundation of our energy. And then
Mm.
we decide what to add on into our lives. So this is my story. For me personally, what really pulled me into these traditions was my first Mayan cross reading with my first teacher, Mark Elmy.
Mm-hmm.
And for years, like I said, I studied myself and others through numerology, different astrology modalities, and the tarot. But I still had some confusion about specific aspects of my being, particularly around my purpose and mission. I'm very versatile as an artist. I'm very technology oriented, but I also had deep interest in healing arts and human
Mm-hmm.
origins and the medicine world. And I didn't know why, but I felt like I was never going to master anything. You know, my focus and energy was just so scattered to build
Mm.
anything coherent and lasting. When I received my cross reading, I experienced a major illumination that helped me make sense of all my vast interests, my gifts,
Mhm.
my way of relating to others, and integrating all of my being. Essentially, it clued me into my next phase of life and the evolution of my gifts and my profession. So understanding my future energies, I'm now able to shape my path forward with much more clarity, you know, cluing me into where I'm headed and what I need to do to focus on and support that path.
Mhm.
So Mayan tradition uses the woven tapestry as an analogy. When we're acting upon our natural vibration, we're in balance with all of creation, like a single thread in a woven fabric. So if one thread is missing out of a pattern, the design will be incomplete or
Mm.
messy. Knowing our Nawal reveals which thread and color we are in the collective tapestry of life. It guides us to follow our natural line and color rather than another's.
Mhm.
So this is a way in which, you know, how we could see it provides clarity in how to stay true to our unique path and purpose. So how do we follow the Choki? Apart from our Mayan natal cross, we can use the Choki for daily and cyclical guidance. As I've mentioned, each day carries a specific energy, a blueprint to work with, and then we choose the elements, the intentions and decisions we add to the foundation of that day. So the more we follow and practice its guidance and understand our own natural energies, the more we live in alignment with the natural order of the cosmos. So
Mhm.
this is when, for me personally, and I think for many others, that's when we start to feel its magic. Its manifestations and its temples start appearing in our lives. And many of us will perceive these as intense synchronicity, like
Mhm.
for me, very often physical manifestations, like what happened earlier today.
Yeah.
But once you feel it as a whole, its synchronicities and rhythms spanning through time, you'll certainly start to notice the nature of time and space in a completely and entirely different way. Mark Elmy, my teacher and Mayan wisdom guide, he describes the Choki like looking at the source code. So it's
Mm.
finding ourselves and reality beyond the surface or beyond the interface of an app, beyond the screen and beyond the buttons, and into the source code of the app being life, you know, what we see around us in material physical space.
Mm.
So if we see or feel its manifestations appear, it simply means we're aligning ourselves more with natural law and we're living in deeper presence with cosmic order. So following the ritual count attentively, organically attunes us more to the present moment. The Akihab or Mayan wisdom guides often point out that the most important starting point in getting to know the Nawal is studying its order. So in psychology, if someone can't say what day it is or where they are in space and time, it's a sign that something's off, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Like losing track of time and space is a fundamental orientation check. So similarly, knowing one's place in the Choki calendar helps us anchor us to the present moment. So this creates a sense of grounding. And this basic orientation lays the foundation to then explore the calendar's deeper layers, which is its numbers, its philosophies, the ceremonial aspect of it, and healing practices. So that's why, you know, I've decided to add on the top of every Substack reading, you know, where we are in its trecena
Mm.
and all of the consensus information about the Nawal's energy and also the energy of the number, you know. And
Mhm.
then below all of that is the day's energy reading. So by committing to the Sakbe, the White Road, and aligning with its guidance, it can lead to profound awakening and healing. Some of the Mayan guides say that this solar awareness awakens us spiritually as we follow and anchor each day's unique spiritual teachings called the solar charge. So that's why I've on my website, I've named this practice a solar path to awakening. Through experience, I know that following the calendar through daily conscious choices and actions brings steady upgrades and transformations or reorientations. So, for instance, if I'm in a conflict with someone or something, with the sacred calendar, I have clear guidance on what the theme of that day is teaching, and I can make informed choices from that deeper understanding. I'm also more informed of the spiritual teaching of that conflict. So,
Mhm.
because I understand more deeply the solar charge of that day. So as a quick overview of the guidance the Nawalis can provide, I'll go over our current place in time and space according to the Choki. So we're currently in the Tihash Tresena, a 13-day cycle, which is focused on healing, on purification, on action, truth, and precision. Tihash is symbolized by the obsidian blade and the volcano, lightning, and the spirit of the holy warrior. And it has energy that can both heal and divide, making incisive cuts to remove what's false or harmful, but also capable of causing pain. And this double-edged energy, destructive or healing, reminds us of the inherent duality in every Nawal and Daynam. So in Mayan tradition, maintaining balance means recognizing and working with both sides. Tihash is one of the strongest Nawalis that guide us to balance our actions and complement our inner dualities, dark and light. The words of my first teacher, Mark Elmi, duality with all its difficulties is a necessary part of life. Neither one aspect or the other is better than the other.
Mhm.
And then today's sun is Tukawak in the Tihash Tresena, bringing energies of rain, storm, community, sharing, renewal, harvests, nurturing, and versatility, artistry. The number 2 signifies duality and partnership, and this day is also influenced by the overarching Tresena theme of Tihash. So Jess, you chose this date without knowing it would land on Tukawak. I don't think you did, right?
No, I didn't. It wasn't until you told me that.
Yeah. And, as soon as I saw that, I felt this communal, conversational, artistic energy. And I felt that it would be really auspicious for us as a group.
Mhm.
So I was happy to offer our class on this day. And also, I also thought about potential difficulties, but I was like, whatever, just chose this. I'm just going to flow with it. And
Mhm.
so tomorrow is Triakpu or Shivakpu, and this introduces the energy of inner work, of talent, of victory, and it's perfect for leaning into our inner warrior energy. Okay, so why follow the ritual count? So coding our days means that we can apply each day and Tresena's guidance to spark conscious intention and subtle awakening. So each day becomes an opportunity to program and write a refining code for our lives born from cyclical awareness. And it also shows us it allows us to understand our growth cycles. So this is something that I recently discovered, and it's incredible. Each Choki cycle brings a 28-day period of personal transformation, which is informed by our natal cross.
Hmm.
It could be seen as a death and rebirth cycle. So these days repeat themselves for us every 260 days, right? Approximately every 9 months. And so recognizing patterns around our central and surrounding Nawals is really helpful for our personal growth. So from the first quadrant, starting that cycle, there are 14 days until we reach our Nimaki or our Mayan birthday, and then 14 days to complete it. Each Nawal on our cross marks an important stage in that 28-day cycle. Obviously, all 28 days aren't in here, but each placement is in consecutive order with specific days that will form our cross and shape our character, right? And we also develop equilibrium. So by assigning certain days for spiritual introspective work and other days for active practical work, this kind of puts greater order into our affairs. Some days for the mind, others for the body, others for relationships. We it's one of the guys I talked to, he says it's a it's a it's a system of celebrating. So it's like we get to celebrate our partnership, we get to celebrate, our body or our art, or so that's how we could use it to produce some kind of order and equilibrium. And then we could also dedicate the energies for prayers and ritual. So practicing rituals with the Choki helps us develop a connection to the heart of the sky,
Hmm.
God or divine masculine, and heart of the earth, mother, divine feminine, through prayers and offerings. And so these can be creative, personalized practices suited to our specific needs. And just so you guys know, I'm hosting a workshop in December on creating personal altars and practicing rituals guided by the Choki. Because for me, this really deepened my understanding of the calendar, and it was a way to combine both the mathematical aspect of it and the heart ritual-based aspect of it. And that's, to me, that's how it became a whole integral science.
Hmm.
So so what are our 8 bat ceremonies? So in the K'iche Mayan tradition, not in all Mesoamerican, not in the Yucatec, not in the Tonalpawali, but in the K'iche tradition, every Choki cycle begins on 8 bats. And this is a very important day in the Guatemalan region of Mayan spirituality. And it's obviously celebrated every 260 days. So Washakie Bats is considered the day of the Choki, the day of the thread, symbolizing new beginnings. And it is central to both the Ahki, the Mayan wisdom guide, lineage, and community. This is a day when masculine and feminine polarities begin anew. They start fresh in unity. On 8 bats, the altars are typically held by male wisdom guides. And then 40 days later, during Belehe bats, 9 bats, altars are held by female wisdom guides. So this marks a 40-day transition between both, marking a sacred period unifying polarities across space and time. So 8 bats always marks the end and start of the Choki cycle, reaffirming the Ahki's mission and service. And ceremonies on this day reflect the core of Mayan culture, with bats representing the thread of time and our spiritual connection to origin and creation. Bats is also the umbilical cord that connects us to our mother during our gestation period in the womb. That's its anatomical link. It's the umbilical cord, both 8 and bats. And this is an excerpt of a Mayan prayer for the day 8 bats. Jess, please.
Yes. I take up the spiral of this new cycle, renew my spiritual commitment, and offer my threads and colors to contribute to the great evolutionary weaving.
Beautiful. So the 8 bats festivities, as well as traditional Mayan fire ceremonies, are really beautiful, colorful, wonderfully fragrant. 8 bats features dance, ritual arts, and fire offerings using copal, incense, resins, flowers, candles, and foods. The number 8 is symbolized by 4 goddesses and gods, and bats is the weaving of time and space, the grand tapestry of life. So this day is especially celebrated with Aki initiations and marriages, because 8 bats is the cosmic archetype of man and woman in sacred union. Individually, it's a day dedicated to reaffirm our spiritual commitment with life in connection with the creator and former. This is how they call God, creator and former, in which we are a part of, fulfilling with great joy our mission of life in this time and space. So this new Choki cycle is coming soon, actually, on October 5th. And I'm so thrilled to share that for the first time, I'll be joining the festivities in Momostenango, Guatemala, which is
Oh, that's awesome.
2 days from now. Yeah, this will be my first one. And yeah, so when I started learning about this calendar, I called it Mayan astrology. And many people call it that for the sake of marketing, so it could be found, but it's not astrology. That's incorrect. What we've been exploring here is Mayan ritual cosmology. So it's about how our living present center moves in the shifting currents of the 4 directions, right? So this is guided and defined by the 1320 pattern, 1320. So while astrology and its transits will observe our lives and character from the outside in, right? Transits,
Hmm.
planets moving. Mayan ritual cosmology works from the inside out, shaping our experience from the core outward. So this may not entirely click right now, but as you pay attention, you'll notice that each day's energy jumps abruptly between the four directions. So east, south, north, west, each with its own force, guardian, flavor, and it's further colored by the Nawales and the numbers. Then the cycle repeats, beginning again on 8 bats, but not in a circle. It spirals like our
Mm-hmm.
DNA. So each time around, it's a chance to grow and refine our choices. So the practice keeps evolving. You know, your awareness deepens and the understanding goes further with each turn. So this daily observation through the Choki is called the ritual count. So why ritual count? Why ritual time? And how is this different from our usual idea of time? Well, I thought about it and I was like, well, I want to encourage you to discover that for yourself. Some things in life could only be learned through lived experience, and no words fully capture ritual time because, of course, everyone's filter of awareness is unique. However, I do want to share a personal story that might give you a feel for what ritual time is and why it's worlds apart from ordinary time. Becca, you remember this? So ritual time reminds me of a powerful teaching I received from a zenith sun ceremony in Tikal, Guatemala. Here we are on a scorching 106-degree midday.
Wow.
A group and I gathered barefoot around a tall, hot fire, our sweaty hands full of offerings, preparing to launch into a lengthy invocation and offering to the 20 Nawales in each of the 13 versions. So we had just finished weaving a ceremonial cross from thick wood and corn leaves, and we were also instructed to hold on to our remaining pieces of twine. So before any prayers could begin, we were told to offer the leftover twine to the fire, but first each knot had to be untied. So imagine the heat, the exhaustion, and the slippery cords with the tiny, tight knots to untie, to undo, right? So anyone would feel a sense of struggle and frustration at this moment right before entering a sacred state. And that's when Denise Barrios, the Aki and the facilitator, shared that the practice of patiently untying each knot itself is a meditation and a part of our prayer and a part of our offering. So, in that moment, my perspective shifted. I realized how the act of being present, of being present and of bringing patience and intention to even the smallest and most frustrating tasks could transform them into a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what the Choki teaches, that every challenge, each gesture, commitment, and responsibility can become sacred when we approach it with higher awareness. And presence turns every day into ceremony. And even untying stubborn knots becomes a ritual offering when we move with conscious intent. So when we hold the energy of the day in our mind and our hearts, we don't only organize our days and intentions better, but we kind of gain a clearer picture of what areas of our lives and our attitude towards them can improve. This helps us gain a new perspective, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, as an overview of its blessings, this is how I've experienced this practice over the last 5 years.
Mm.
And so, according to Carlos Barrios, this is a crucially important moment for humanity and for Earth. We have work to do, he says. Jess?
Each person is important. If you have incarnated into this era, you have spiritual work to do balancing the planet. The elders have opened the doors so that other races can come to the Mayan world to receive the tradition. The Maya have long appreciated and respected that there are other colors, other races, and other spiritual systems. They know, he said, that the destiny of the Mayan world is related to the destiny of the whole world.
Mhm. So, most of us don't have the time or resources to travel to Central America to study directly with the Maya, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't bring the Choki into our daily lives and align with its energies. There's nothing stopping us from learning about the calendar and living its rhythms day by day. So genuine Mayan teachers and guides will support this personal study, knowing that it can spark a shift in both lifestyle and in deeper understanding of time itself. And that's really what I'm passionate about. I've dedicated myself to making this journey more accessible to you through my offerings. So on my website, you can find in-depth information about this practice and the Choki and its traditions. On my Substack, you'll find free daily interpretations by myself and by Mayan wisdom guides. And my Trecena forecast tool offers concise, practical applications and programming for each day. And to me, personally, this is one of the most helpful tools because this guidance gives us clear, practical guidance in how to embody the Choki by practicing, not just and mentally observing it or reading it, right? And then you could find your Chumil, which means your guiding star, and study your Mayan cross also on my website, which is under my site's day calculator page. I highly encourage you to receive a full Mayan cross reading by Enaki. For those curious to receive a reading, please reach out to me. As a student, I'm not authorized to give readings yet, but I could certainly send you to a few people. And I encourage you to read my favorite book on the subject, which is by Carlos Barrios, called The Book of Destiny. And not only is it a comprehensive account of the Mayan history, their science, and their traditions from the perspective of a Mayan elder, but it provides a deeper, accurate reading of your Nawal and your cross. And you could also join my study group. Our first inaugural meeting starts this September 21st, and Jess is a member, so is Becca and Kara and Eva. Personal ritual workshop. So on my site, under the services page, you can find out more about this group workshop and add yourself to the waiting list. This is where I'm going to do a group workshop on personal rituals and your personal altar. And you can also attend a retreat led by authentic Mayan wisdom guides, and I could also provide a recommendation upon request. Okay.
Thank you,
That's
Diana. Wow,
it.
that was
That's
absolutely
it.
incredible. So, so, so good. Now is the time where we're going to transition into Q&A and sharing some reflections. So, I'm going to drop some prompts here in the chat. I know that, okay, we have one question already, but if anyone has any other questions for Diana, please put them in the chat or you can feel free to unmute and ask. And then also we would love for you to share a reflection on anything that you have learned today and how it resonated with you. So you can do both. You can use this time to ask questions and to share reflections. Diana, we got a question from Sprout. When are the study groups?
So there's 6 sessions that start September 21st. And I can send you the details, but they're split between, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks. And they go all the way until January. So they're joined in packages of 6. And then if you want to keep joining, you keep, they'll be ongoing.
Yeah, cool. I wanted to share a couple of things that really stood out to me while everybody else is thinking. One of the things that stood out the most to me, and thank you so much for this, Diana, is just making this such a welcoming, invitational cosmovision that because there is so much talk around, you know, appropriation, cultural appropriation, and we want to be so sensitive to all of those things. But it's so beautiful to hear, first of all, that the Maya welcome us in. And also, what really stood out to me is how you said, kind of eating seasonal foods, like the food of the land. And so I also really love this practice. I find that my ancestry, I relate the most with Celtic ancestry because that's, where my great 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 grandparents were from, and going back and back and back and back. But I also really love being able to connect with the North America land through this daily solar calendar and cosmovision, and I feel like it really complements it very well. It's so synergistic and it's really amazing. So yeah, that also really kind of like made me feel validated. Like, yes, like not only are you welcome to do this, but it makes a lot of sense for you to stay attuned to this because this is the rhythm of the land that you live on.
Mhm.
I also really loved that you said every 9 months we move through our own cross for 28 days. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize that. I realized that I had my Mayan birthday, but moving through that in 28 days, like that really makes me want to mark that time as really sacred and really special and do something with
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you
Yes.
for those things. Yeah.
Yeah, about that specifically. So the personal ritual workshops we will be geared around those 28 days as well. So that'll give you
Mm,
kind of like guidance into how to make offerings for your Nawales and what days of that cycle to choose to create your own personal rituals.
yeah. Okay. Paula's asking, do you offer readings?
I don't. I'm not. I'm. Some people like Mark Elmy. He thinks it's fine to offer readings even if you're not an Aki. I've also had training through other Akis, and I think it's because they've gone through this really intense initiation process. Sometimes it could take 5 or 6 years to get initiated as an Aki, and so I just want to respect them. The fact that they've gone through all of that and I haven't. So I'm like, they're also receiving the Nawales during those initiation processes where they're in different altars for each Nawal. And so I don't feel like it's right yet until I receive the Nawales myself. So right now, as of right now, this I'm just studying the ritual count, and that's what I'm sharing. But yeah, there's a few people that I could recommend that are incredible. If you just reach out to me through my website or Instagram or something, and then I'll send you some things.
Yeah, and we'll put some links in the Cohere platform as well. Diana can share them there, and I can share who I got my reading with was Denise Barrios, and it was amazing. So,
Mhm.
highly recommend her as well. Yeah, would anyone else like to share a reflection of what they learned or any other questions?